1 million. That's how many people are estimated to have died in the United States from COVID since the pandemic began around the first of the year in 2020. Whatever your opinions on what public policy should or should not have been, that's a big number, and it's worth pausing and remembering. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, May 14th, 2022. Everybody has an opinion about what went right and what went wrong in our collective national response to COVID. I have no desire here to litigate any particular opinion. Leave the finger pointing and the blame game nags to their devices. Today, I am only interested in the collective human cost now that we have reached this milestone. I remember when COVID first hit, there was heated debate about how lethal the disease was, what percentage of people who contracted it would die. Everyone seemed to peg it to the annual death rate for the flu, which made a certain amount of intuitive, if not logical, sense. After all, the two diseases are respiratory in nature and their symptoms seem pretty similar. Every year, somewhere between 12,000 and 52,000 people die from flu and flu-related illnesses, such as pneumonia, in the United States. The reason for the wide disparity between those numbers is that some strains of influenza are simply more lethal than others. It's a lot of people, but it seems manageable somehow. As COVID cases began to rise, all sorts of numbers were tossed around as estimates of the number of people who might die from COVID. Some people were throwing around what seemed at the time wildly exaggerated numbers. Maybe as many as 150,000 people might die per year from it. But now, some 30 months after we became fully aware of COVID, we have reached the 1 million death threshold. But we all know people who contract COVID and who have mild to virtually non-existent cases. Apparently, one of the reasons so many more people die from COVID than from the flu is the simple fact that many more people contract COVID than the flu. And this, in turn, is thought to be related to the fact that when you contract the flu, you know it pretty quickly, and you go home and stay in bed. With COVID, on the other hand, you can be infected and contagious for days before you ever know you have it. In other words, COVID spreads more easily than the flu because people infected with the virus continue to mix and mingle while they're contagious, thus passing it on to others much more readily. All of which is to say, we've been dealing with a highly opportunistic disease that infects a lot of people. No wonder so many people have died. And for every death, there is a family that grieves. And that's our business. Christian people are called to care for those who grieve. We do it in a number of ways. We visit those who've lost loved ones. We offer our prayers and a shoulder to cry on. We offer a listening ear to the cries of grief and of anger that naturally follow. And we bear witness to the reality of the resurrection. Lost in the often venomous disagreements we've endured about COVID and what we should or should not have done to prevent it are the tears of the bereaved. Asking whether the one who died was vaccinated often only adds to the hurt because of the implied blame the victim mentality. While I have opinions on these things, as a pastoral matter, when death comes, the time to assign blame, especially on the deceased, comes to an end. Now, some get a sort of morbid delight when a militant anti-vaxxer dies of COVID. But when the dust settles, it's still a death, and it still brings pain to those left behind. 1 million deaths. It's a big, big number. Very few families and even fewer circles of friends have escaped unscathed. So, no matter what your politics on the broader issue, there is no denying the human tragedy. Now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.